All right, guys. Here I got a special guest, Steve Malloy, the first guy to give me a platform to talk on a Dolphins channel. I love Steve. He's a great guy. I always appreciate coming on the show. I appreciate knowing him. He's just an awesome dude. We're going to talk a little Dolphins. We're going to stick on two topics. We're going to talk about Tua because Steve's got some really good information. Tua, you say Tua. And then and then we're going to talk about Jeff Darlington saying that Grier and McDaniel were never on a hot seat. This is going to be us trying to get and see what's inside Steve's head, get him to put his information out. I'm kind of going to stay in the background because I want to hear. This is why I'm doing these things, because it's really about listening to other people's ideas and then ruminating and putting in your brain and thinking about it and trying to find the truth. So, Steve, I every playoff, I watch the playoffs and I try to see the bellwether of where the NFL is heading, because they're the best of the best. Their philosophies, their talent, their vision, all that stuff is what is best in the NFL. And everyone's going to be kind of looking towards that. And so that's how I find the cycles of things. And we were talking in the background about Tua, and you brought some really great stats. I heard something else, and you had brought stats that were contrary to what I heard. But for what I'm seeing in these playoffs, you need either to be an elite quarterback, an elite thrower, an elite processor, or you need to be mobile. Hopefully both, but you need to be one of the other. It's the middle ground that I'm seeing, like a Mayfield or who else do we see out there? That was Darnold. And if you're in that middle ground, I just don't think the framework is there. You have to, I mean, the Vikings had unbelievable framework and they still couldn't get it done. I mean, Darnold choked or whatever, but you brought up some great stats about Tua's processing. And to me, that's going to be the key. I think the kid's got skills, but the league is, just as the league changed from fun ball to pass balance, you're seeing the offense is doing a little something different with these mobile quarterbacks. It's a big rush to be like the Allen and the Mahomes. And these defenses are kind of shutting down those middle ground players. And so it's going to be very interesting to see, because Tua is a middle ground player. He does have the elite release. He's got the elite anticipatory throwing, but he's got the injury history. He's not super mobile. We don't know about, audibles and stuff. I think that's critical for his success. We don't know if we're getting, and we don't really know how good he can do. The processing thing is going to be critical. You look at Stafford, and then we'll get a glimpse of Goff. They're better processors. So go through the information that you were given to me, which I thought was really compelling towards one side of the argument. And let's just kind of parse through that. So tell me exactly what you were telling me. I should hit record. Let's try
Okay.
there, brother.
Okay. I'll see if my memory it comes back. Here's the thing. First off, I want to piggyback on what you said about quarterbacks, middle ground. And then you mentioned the other quarterbacks that have these elite traits and things like that. Well, I've always had a scale, a scale from 1 to 10, and I feel, it's my opinion, that if you're going to you're going to be a contender in a Super Bowl, or you're going to be a Super Bowl caliber type quarterback. My scale is from 1 to 10. You're going to have to continuously play at a consistent level of about an 8 or 9, sometimes 10.
You talking about the whole team or the quarterback position?
No, I'm talking about specifically the quarterback position. Okay. You're going to have to play at about an 8 or 9 from a scale from 1 to 10, and consistently, throughout the year. Those are your elite quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that are Super Bowl contenders, in my opinion. Tua, he fluctuates between 5 and 7. So 7 is a really good quarterback. 5 is probably not so good, So he fluctuates between those two in a scale from 1 to 10, in my opinion. And so what I'm saying is, he's good enough not to be good enough. And that is the worst quarterback you can have on your football team, because he's going to win you a bunch of games. He's going to have some really good games. He looks really good, but he just doesn't have that X factor. And that's what he's missing is the X factor. And as I stated, behind the stage with you, when Tua started with the Miami Dolphins early in his career, he was more mobile.
Yeah, he was.
And you mentioned he did those rollouts and things like that, and he looked very good, very fluid.
Very crisp.
Yeah, very crisp, very fluid, and it's no longer the case. Now, I don't know if that's because they've got him protected, and they don't want him to do that. I know Grier made a statement in the presser that they had.
The pisser.
The pisser press conference. But so those are my takes as far as quarterbacks. That's how I see it, and I see him in that 5 to 7 range. But on the progressions, I've always said that Tua, his progressions are okay, but he's not at top of the line when it comes to progressions. In fact, the stat sheet that I sent you, as far as his progressions go, he was ranked like 27th out of 32 quarterbacks. And even Bryce Young, whom we all know, we've had the eye test with him. We've seen how he's played.
Yeah.
His progressions are even a lot better than Tua's. He's up there right around 2. So progressions are very important. And I think when I say the X factor with Tua, I think even though he's not a very good progressor, goes through his progressions very well, and that's in that thing, that in that respect. He's got the quick release, and he has the accuracy, and I think that's has helped him along in keeping him in that type of mode as that we've seen him play, which is from 5 to 7. And if he was a little better progression in his progressions, I don't know. Maybe he could be better. Maybe that would help. I think that the weak link with Tua is his mobility and rolling out of the pocket, throwing on the run, scrambling, and those kind of things. And I think that's what we're missing in this offense as far as a quarterback is concerned. Now, I'm going to bring this up too as well. I also said, on a couple other podcasts, I've said, and I've gotten heat for it. I said, Patrick Mahomes is not a very good progress.
No, he's not. He
goes through his progressions either.
No,
he's not very good either.
No.
And guess what? He's ranked down there about 22, 23, not too far from Tua. But Patrick Mahomes has the X factor.
And a huge arm.
He has a huge arm.
And
he has the mobility. He goes off script, so, he looks like he's playing sandlot football out there half the time. So that's the difference between, Mahomes and Tua. It's not so much his progressions, it's that mobility, the stronger arm, and the going off script. Also, I want to make mention, and I know I'm rambling on here.
No, we're here to hear what you're saying. That's what we're here for.
All right. Now, I don't want everybody to get the impression that I don't like Tua or that I'm a hater or anything like that. No, that's not it at all. I'm just a Dolphin fan, and I think these are some of the holes that we need to fill in this team. And one of them, I think it plays a big part, is that quarterback position. Not only the injury history that he has, but just like Sam Darnold, in those bigger games, he chokes and he can't get us over the hump in those big games and carry the team. Right. So that's not good to have on your football team. You need a guy that can carry the team some of the time. Right. You need a guy to be able to scramble. You need a guy to go off script at times. And I'm not saying Tua can't do it. He has done it, but he hasn't done it consistently. Right. Like these other quarterbacks do. But also I mentioned too, And in fact, let me read the statement. This is from the Houston Texans game. When they played the Texans, and I want everybody to listen to this and just think about this for a second. And then once you think about it, go back and replay some of the teams that Tua has played and some of the bad games he's had, some of the games where he's threw some interceptions where you're like, wow, why did he throw that? And that kind of stuff. Well, here's what they had to say about that. And this was
who's they? Who are you reading from?
I'm gonna let you know right now.
Okay.
This is coming from the defensive back that played for the Houston Texans, Bullock, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bullock.
He was the former Titan, right?
Right, exactly. So here's I'm just going to read the whole thing real quick. The Jets were in cover 3 and they're talking about the
Jets game.
The Jets
probably was doing film study.
Yeah. The Jets game were in cover 2. And Tua Tagovailoa hit Hill on a route for a 17-yard completion in front of the safety. So talking about D'Amico Ryans of the Houston Texans. So Ryans wanted to use more coverages that allowed Bullock, the safety, to hoover over the middle to free him up to go steal some of those routes. Okay. So basically he was using Bullock as a robber. They call that a robber.
Yeah.
Okay. So with 25 seconds left in the second quarter against Miami, McDaniel called the same play-action play he did against the Jets. Ryans countered by deploying Bullock, who's usually the deep field safety, using an inverted cover 2 alignment. Bullock hovered in the middle of the intermediate field, jumped in front of Hill, intercepted Tua Tagovailoa, and sprinted down the field until he was brought down in Miami 5-yard line. Houston capitalized with a field goal before that half. It goes on. He's talking about Ryans. This is Bullock's statement. He put me in position where he knows I'm comfortable at to help the defense by taking the ball away, Bullock said, or told ESPN. That was the plan for the whole week. So they were planning this. Let me hoover over the middle and just let me play the ball. On my pick, and I've heard this from several other players that have said this. I've heard it from Quinn. We've heard it from the Baltimore Ravens last year. Quinn said a statement similar to this. We've heard it from Sherfield. We've heard it from several other players. This is going to sound familiar. He said, we knew Tua would look away, but once he threw the ball, he really doesn't look where he's throwing it at. So we would see. Sorry, man.
Take your time. No sweat.
Oh, man. Where did it say? Okay. So he wouldn't see me the whole time. We've heard this before. If the receiver is not in that spot, Tua's going to throw it anyway. Why?
Yeah.
Because he throws it blindly. Okay. And all this time, a lot of folks, and I've done it too in the past, I said, man, he's really processing the field really quick. He's really doing good. And if you notice, a lot of times he'll go back and he'll look to the left, or he might go back and look to the right, and then he'll come over and throw it. All he's doing is looking off the line, manipulating the linebackers or the safety. That's all he's doing. And he's an expert at that. He's a master at that. He has mastered that since college. He's done it. And I think Mike McDaniel saw that and used it to his advantage in this offensive scheme. So that's why when you see Tua go like this, he's not processing the field, because the plays more than likely 90% of the time are already predetermined. So he already knows where the linebackers are going to be or whatever. Mike McDaniel has already gone over this with him several hundreds of times, right? So he'll look, try to manipulate that linebacker or the safety, see if they'll bite, and then he'll just throw it in that spot. And then that's when sometimes you're saying, why did he throw that ball?
Yeah.
That's why.
Well, okay, so I know a lot of quarterbacks do that. I think that
A lot do, yes, sure.
Alp was telling me, I think it was yesterday on the podcast or on the side, he was saying that Ed Reed was watching film of Peyton Manning, and he noticed that every time he would look to the left and look back to the safety spot, he would go back and throw to the left. And Ed Reed, as soon as he looked at him, he knew it from film and just started booking to the other side of the field. Right. And he intercepted the football. So
yeah,
I don't think that in itself is damning. I don't know what is processing, because if he's in a scheme that's spot throwing, it's timing. And this is all part of his training. And if maybe he can't, maybe if you gave him 2.4 seconds and you gave him a progression offense, he couldn't go through those progressions. And maybe even with the time, he would freeze up. I really don't know. But I know that this whole offense has been designed around it. Now, maybe it's designed because that's all he can do. Or is it designed that that's what McDaniel, all he can do, or the both of them? And I don't know what he can do beyond that. So some of the things you were showing where his progressions were like 27th, if he's operating in a very small time frame, there is no time to go through progression. So is it that if you gave him more time, he still can't do it? He's going to freeze up. I mean, we know that he drops the football. He gets nervous in big situations. That's like clear. We know that. So I see it. I think it's a legit thing. And I don't see him ever being a super processor like Manning, or a super processor like Brady, or, I mean, I don't know. I can't say no until the opportunity is given. I just don't kind of see it. I mean, you could see the Wonderlic and say, well, maybe he's not the whatever. I don't know how much the Wonderlic matters. I mean, I don't. 16 Wonderlic or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think that matters too much. I don't think it has anything to do. I don't think his processing has anything to do with the Wonderlic, to be honest with you.
So, I mean, I don't know, but I know that the offense that he was supposed to be going into, Gailey's, was all about processing. And it was never developed. And then we went into the Three Amigos, and they sucked. And then we went into this thing, and this thing is all, I mean, once you have an offense that gets to the line of scrimmage and you just got to run with it because you don't have audibles, is he being set up? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. No. I mean, clearly what you're saying, it's fact. I mean, whatever. It could be, but what we're seeing is what we're seeing. So I thought it was really good information. But again, like you said, Mahomes can't do it. But Mahomes got the arm where he can run around and then throw it 80 yards down the field. But, they also have more balance.
Yeah.
They can run the football. They can block longer. I don't think that's the whole thing, but I think that's really good information. But even if you take all this together, for me, my concern is, even if you gave him everything right and he's not elite, in what I'm seeing with these defenses, he's kind of screwed a little bit because he can't run. And if he's not an elite processor, then you're going to have to build the Rock of Gibraltar in front of him and have an unbelievable run game. I don't know what another OC could do around him, but I think that's really good information. It's information to chew on,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I put it out there for. I mean, I'm not an expert on this stuff by any means, but I'm just putting it out there, food for thought for people, like you said, to chew on. And like I said in the beginning, before I read that statement, just think about that. Go back, replay all the plays and things, and then you make your own judgments on that. And then you made another good point about, well, if we put a big wall around him, a really, really good offensive line. Well, really, if you look in the playoffs, and I know it's the playoffs, but even playoffs. But even these big lines, I mean, these good, big physical lines, they can only hold up on protection for so long. They're
struggling to run a little bit too, unless you're getting that pass back, unless you're getting the balance from the quarterback.
Exactly, like you say, the pass balance. But it's also, I mean, you see these guys, Jalen Hurts, you see Mahomes, they got tremendous lines, but they
Hurts is
still got to
terrible.
run. They
Yeah.
still got to go out of the
Hurts
pocket
can't
and
throw
make
either, man.
plays.
He's terrible.
Yeah, he's not a very good processor either
No, not at
and
all.
thrower, But he gets the job done because he's
Because he's
mobile
huge. He
and
bench
he's
squats
big
600
guy.
pounds.
Yeah, and he goes off script, and he's got a tremendous,
And
again, a
Barkley.
tremendous balance. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got a tremendous balance, on his offense with the running game and the passing game.
And that's the
So,
thing too. We'll get into the next point in a second, but
mhm,
it kind of leads into it. I just don't see us being able to build the kind of offensive line
mhm.
if we don't allow him to process, if we don't allow audibles, if we're stuck in this scheme matching, we can't like get to the line of scrimmage, call audibles. McDaniel can't play call better, adjust better. You just basically say, hey, get to the line. Here's the play. Get to the line of scrimmage. Have them move in motion. See what they're doing and throw quick. If that's all we can do, we're screwed. But even if we adjust, can we even build the kind of offensive line for Tua? Like, let's say, as you said, his processing is 7 or processing is 8. That might not be enough unless you have some unbelievable Eagle-style offensive line. And how are you supposed to build that? And so I think I see these defenses, they're growing.
Exactly.
They're growing. They're getting so much better. I thought it was going to take a little bit longer for them to get into the pass balance and handle it.
Mhm.
But they have recovered very quickly to handle some of these teams like Mayfield. They did a phenomenal job on Mayfield. Love
Yep.
got kind of shut down. Even Darnold, you saw Darnold, those 2 awesome receivers and offensive line,
Yep.
they shut it down.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be like that Stafford, or we'll see if it's Goff or Allen or Mahomes or the kid over at Washington. You got to have some kind of elite something. And I don't know now the way the league's shifting and what I'm seeing these playoffs, if that elite release and anticipation is going to be enough and we can build enough to make it enough, even if it's, what I'm saying? So I think that was really good information. It's got me really thinking a lot. I've got to go back and run through this first round again and see what they're doing, because I was really surprised at some of these offenses being totally, totally shut down, except for certain, certain teams that just have a lot of great stuff.
Well, here's
we're a
another
long way from great stuff.
Oh yeah, but here's another great point you made too, and you were talking about Darnold, how he kind of choked and he was holding on to the ball and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of those sacks were covered sacks because there was nobody open, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 6.69 seconds or more for like 80 sacks.
crazy, right? But here's the key: how many times did you see him run out of the pocket?
Yeah, no.
That's
You got to make a little something. You got to make a little something on the side.
You got to, man.
Got to have a side hustle in the NFL.
He can get away with that stuff maybe in the regular season, but in the playoffs, but in the playoffs, you got me saying, but in the playoffs, it's a whole different ball game.
Totally. And even the regular season, when you're going against these really good teams on the road,
for sure,
it's kind of got that playoff vibe.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good stuff. I've become, people have been saying that I'm like a Tua-phile or something. That's crazy. I think the kid can play, but
he's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He's just one of them quarterbacks. And I'm gonna say it again.
He's got a Mayfield feel to him, like different, but like he could take it, but then he'll get the big negative play or something.
Good enough not to be good enough, and that's not good enough if you want to have a elite, or let's face it, if you're in the Super Bowl nowadays, now maybe back in the day it was a little different when you had the Baltimore Ravens with the great defenses and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You could have a quarterback like Tua, right? But
you would have a major framework to support that, though.
Yeah, but nowadays teams are running, with their, how am I going to put it? They're trying to get by with just enough, like on the O-line and stuff like that. They're trying just to get by enough, and all that. And it'll work if you have a quarterback. Again, it goes back to the quarterback. It'll work if you have a quarterback and a running game
Yeah.
that can complement that O-line,
See, that's why I really wanted this thing to be built right, because if it was the offensive line was built right, you had some decent tight end work and decent coherent run game, you would
Yeah.
know clearly is Tua what Tua is. But there's just such
Yeah.
fog of war because of the way they designed it, and people keep saying it's designed just for his quick throwing, which I don't agree with. I think that maybe in some part, but it really helps out McDaniel a ton. It really helps out Grier a ton too, because
Yeah.
his crappy offensive line can get
Yeah.
uplifted. And so
Yeah.
there's just,
It
it's with
masked the
everything.
offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with even the back office, everything. It's always this illusion that we never know exactly what's going on. It's just this whole fog of war over everything.
I don't know why it's always has to be this mystery, mysterious, Dolphins organization, like with the hip injury with Tua,
Oh, I know. Well,
it's
speaking of mystery, we'll close out with this one here. You heard that Jeff Darlington on the dive bar said that he had heard recently that Grier was never on a hot seat and McDaniel never even got close. For me, that was a nuke, because if you're not trying to win, that means you're totally not all out, hot and heavy to have everybody on the hot seat all the time. I was a walk-on in college, and I was always on the hot seat. You got to see all the guys getting cut, and one guy blew his knee out. Get this garbage off the field, but that drove me. That drove everybody. That urgency to constantly try to be your best, and you knew if you weren't, there was someone looking over your shoulder. And so for me, it was the worst case scenario to hear that Grier and McDaniel were never on a hot seat. Because that says to me from the very top, there's no urgency. And it makes sense why as you go down the ladder, the players don't feel it.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. It was a gut punch for sure. And I heard I don't want to start any rumors, but I did hear that I think that when McDaniel got paid, Chris Grier got paid as well. A new
contract. Paying.
So I mean that's what I
Good
heard.
job, all the good work he's done.
Yeah. So it was just a gut punch, man. And as you said, it starts from the top. And the first thing this Miami Dolphins football team has to do, this organization has to do, before it even considers, trying to upgrade this O-line or any other position, they need a culture change, big time. Big time.
We've been working on that for how many decades now?
Too many. But until we get
that basic thing,
the basic thing, and everybody said, well, McDaniel, he talked to Tyreek, going back to the Tyreek thing, he would talk to Tyreek and everything is good, and they had a really good productive talk, and then we heard Drew Rosenhaus saying, well, he's committed, but he wouldn't say when they asked him the question, well, so he's coming back to Miami. Oh, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that.
No, yeah.
So anyway, but
it goes back to the ping pong table for me.
It goes
Remember,
back to
there's a whole thing about the ping pong table, and then the ping pong table wasn't seen, and all the people were, look, you see, McDaniel's got control. He shut it down, and then like the week later, a couple days later, Hill comes in with the brand new ping pong table. Everyone's just like,
not only the ping pong table, but how about the big giant slide they have in the facility?
I didn't hear about that.
Oh, you haven't seen him sliding down the slide?
No.
The players sliding down this big, huge slide in the facilities. Oh, I mean, it's a freaking it's a playground. It's a big giant playground. And I'm sorry, man.
That's not professional.
No, well,
that's not serious.
No, it's not. Now, here's the difference. Stephen Ross, the Miami Dolphins organization, right, was ranked number 1 in the best place to work, right? Best place to be employed at.
Screw around.
Right. But now the Kansas City Chiefs are 32nd.
Yeah, I wonder why. Because the players are like, dude, I got to come here and work. I got to grind.
So
I can go to fun. I can go to Candyland over in Miami. I can go to the strip bars early. I skip out of meetings.
Man. I know. I know, and
Holy
it's happening,
cow.
and it's not just Tyreek. Okay, it's
No,
other
no.
players as
Who
well.
else have you heard?
Uh, I haven't heard of any other players, and I'm just saying I don't think it's just a one-time incident with Tyreek.
No, no,
This is
no,
an
no.
ongoing thing with players. A lot of players. I don't know which. I mean, I might have some ideas, but I'm not going to say them
Did we
because
hear any of that stuff when Flores was here?
nada, nothing,
I'm
not
just
one
saying, I don't
time.
know. I'm not saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but we never heard any of that. I
Uh,
remember Xavier Howard doing push-ups for missing a play.
yeah, and then they had that TNT
Yeah, it takes no talent.
takes no talent where they made him run sprints
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. That's needed. Look, is McDaniel going to be that guy? No, he's never going to be that guy. All right, he is
If
what
you
he
look
is.
at Flores, you'd be nervous.
He's intimidating.
Dude, yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
You
you
look
look,
at McDaniel, you feel like you're in a Woody Allen movie.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, oh man, I mean,
I know there's got to be a happy medium, but man, if you're going to lend to one degree or the other, it's got to be more hard nosed. I
yeah,
mean, you got to
well,
have a little humanity. Don't get me wrong. You can't
sure,
be,
sure,
like Coughlin was in his early days, but
yeah,
man,
yeah.
if you're too soft, they're just going to gobble you. These are like alpha guys or want to be alpha guys and millionaires. And
For sure, for sure. The thing is, he came in here soft, McDaniel. And once you come in soft, there's no way you're going to get
but he's
harmed.
got nice shoes and he dresses well. That goes a long
Beautiful.
way.
Oh,
That
really
goes a
nice
long
shoes.
way, man.
Yeah, man. But it's like when I worked in the prison, right? I worked in a state prison for some time, a little
I
while.
didn't know that.
Yeah, a correction officer in the state prison here in Texas for a little bit. And the first thing they tell you is when you go into the prison, if you go in soft, that's you've already got your mark on your back. You're just being soft. Once you start trying to be hard, they're just gonna ride you, man.
They know it's fake. They know it's fake.
Yeah, you're not gonna get no respect. But if you come in there and you're a hard ass, even if they don't like you, and they respect you.
Yeah,
But you got to show respect too.
Yeah.
You got to show respect too. But you got to be firm. You got to be a hard ass, because if you come in soft, man, you're gonna have a hard time. Trust me.
Yeah, I was looking into the prison thing, man. But I was like, I knew a guy who was doing it. Some of the tales he told me, I'm like, man, how do you? I would lose my marbles, man. That's a hard job. I mean, it's hard being in prison, but it's hard being a prison guard, dude. That is a rough gig.
I honestly liked it. I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know. I'm different, I guess, but I enjoyed it. I used to talk to those guys, and I'll give you a story real quick. I know we're kind of going off the beaten path.
Don't worry about it.
But I went up to one block, and there was a block where they had like the I forgot what they called it. I've been out for a little while, but anyway. It was separate from the general population and all that, and it was separate from
solitary to solitary.
No, it wasn't solitary confinement. It was a place where they had like the model prisoners, the older guys that have been there for a while, kind of they're old guys, Anyway, they put them in that. They separate them. They segregate them from the general pop and all that. And so I went up there to talk to this guy and everything. It was a separate area of the prison, and real nice, gentle, articulate man, probably in his 70s. And he made these little figurines, okay, and out of whatever materials he could get, and then he would color them and stuff, right? I don't know how he did it, but whatever materials he could get. A lot of
time on his hands to practice.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, these were really nice pieces. And he was talking about, if he was out of prison and all this kind of stuff, he would probably, start marketing these things. And he was telling me how he's going to do it and put them on Amazon and sell them and all this kind of stuff, And I'm like, oh, wow, that's nice and everything, real nice, gentle guy. Right. So you can check out the background of these inmates when you go online, and all you have to have is they have a badge and they have an ID and they have a number,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Their number on it. And if you put that number in to that specific website that you go on to check what their crimes were and stuff, what they were charged with and everything, you can check them out. And they don't recommend you do this. You know, when you go through the academy and everything, so don't do this because you're going to be biased, you know, if you, whatever, you know. So I checked out on this guy's history, right? He killed 13 persons in his family, his kids, his wife, his mother-in-law, his father-in-law, 13 of his family members.
Whoa, that's crazy. This is nice, intelligent,
nice, articulate.
And you wouldn't know. And if you get him upset, you're gonna find yourself.
Yeah. And I thought when I was in the military, you could not judge a book. I thought I learned that you can't judge a book by a cover, because I've met, folks from all kinds of diverse backgrounds in the military, but when you're in prison, man, you really, really can't judge a book by its cover.
That's so crazy.
You really can't.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
13 people.
But it was interesting. I talked to guys and ask them questions, I wouldn't go too far, but I just let them do most of the talking, and somehow or another, they liked me. I don't know why.
You're a likable guy. That's why
they respected me. And I was like their psychiatrist in there, man. I would just ask them a question or talk, and they tell me all kinds of stuff,
That's great.
And
that's what you need. That's what you need. And I think like a guy like Campbell's got it.
Yeah.
Like that's like a perfect balance of hard and friendship, like that's but they're not going to screw with him, man.
No, it's 6'8", 300 something pounds, nah.
Oh, that's great.
I don't think he gets into a lot of fights on the street.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Well, all right. So this was a good conversation, Steve. I really appreciate it. We got to do this again. We're on 37 minutes, so I don't want to go on too long.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you. I thank you for having my show. We're going to definitely get you back soon. So tell us how we can find Steve Malloy.
Okay. Well, I'm still up in the air on whether I'm going to have a show next week or not. I'm kind of going to take a hiatus from all this Dolphin stuff and everything, take a break.
Go see a psychiatrist.
Yeah. I'm going to have to get a little therapy after this season for sure. In fact, I'm going to have a show, maybe every month I'll have a show on where some of the Dolphin fans can come on and give it, voice their opinion and have a voice, and maybe do a little panel show with them or whatnot.
That's awesome.
So that's going to be in the works. But I'm on the Fins Talk Sports Network, and I'm one of the podcasts on the Fins Talk Sports Network. They have many podcasts on there. But I'm Real Talk Fins Talk on the Fins Talk Sports Network. And you can catch me on at 6:30, 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time on the Fins Talk Sport Network every Tuesday. I should be on. Now, I'm still, like I said, I'm still in the air on next week, but anytime after next week, I'm going to be pretty consistent on my shows and everything. And then I'll have that one show during sometime during the month, at least one show dedicated to all the Dolphin fans that can come on, have a little panel show and give me their input and feedback and everything on how they feel.
The fans need a voice. I'm actually going to start on something like that too. I mean, I've been doing it on my live, but I'm going to start doing a lot more of that because it's critical if fans get their voice heard.
I think so, for sure.
Not just the content providers, not just the Dolphins, not just the beats, but the fans, it's like they're the heart of the team. They're the one that makes it all go because it's their money, their fandom that keeps the team running. So I think that's great what you're doing.
Yeah. So, well, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on, Curtis.
Anytime. I love it.
And yeah. So this is really good, man. We'll have to do this again. I'll have you on for sure.
100%.
Again on my show as well. So, yeah, appreciate it.
Anytime. So, guys, definitely check out Steve. Steve's a great guy. He's a legit person. He's a stand-up guy. He's a good guy. Prisoners like him. The guy who killed 13 people like him. So you'd better like him too. Anyway, take it easy. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out. Steve and Curtis out. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with acebread.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.